And we're going to start the mix with the end of days. It was seen in Australia overnight. Yeah, take a look at this.
Wow.
This freaky springtime storm in Australia was seen in Brisbane yesterday. We're getting word. Look at this guy. He posted that this was a reminder to never go to Brisbane in the spring.
Wow.
When he posted that video. 28,000 lightning strikes recorded in this storm that took place 6:30 in the evening.
That
last night.
is crazy. You know.
Hundreds of fish have washed up on a beach south of Perth. Local fishermen are angry. There's still no word on what's caused the deaths.
Kim Burton has been fishing Cockburn Sound for almost 4 decades, but he's never seen anything like this.
Just saw multiple dead fish on the beach, probably 7 or 8 different species.
More than 700 fish have washed ashore since last Wednesday, but why remains a mystery.
Here's another one. This is the biggest fish kill we've seen in the oceanic waters.
Testing done by the Department of Fisheries so far hasn't been able to find a cause. Investigations are continuing.
2015, with all the resources of government and all the things that they've got at their disposal, it's really disappointing that they can't tell us any more.
Even the author of Charlotte's Web could not have spun this story, or maybe it's best described as a sci-fi thriller. Either way, there's an 8-legged problem causing headaches for some homeowners in North Memphis. Frost or morning dew covering the grass in this neighborhood near Chelsea and May.
I've never seen anything.
34 years and I never saw this.
Never seen nothing like this before. When I got up this morning, it was like spiders all on my door. They were coming in my house.
Yeah, well, a sinkhole the size of a football field has swallowed a large part of a beach on North Stradbroke Island off Brisbane. Tons of sand disappeared into the sea, but authorities say the sand will likely return with the tide. Experts are calling it an underwater avalanche.
Campers and fishermen are being warned to avoid the area until the beach stabilises.
A downtown favourite has reopened after an unusual phenomenon forced them to close for the first time in almost a quarter century. The Elephant Room had to shut down back on November 13th after a sinkhole opened up. The owner wasn't sure how long they would be closed or if they could reopen at all. It's the first time they'd closed their doors since opening back in January of 1991.
A man thought he was driving into a parking spot, but his car ended up being swallowed by a sinkhole. Half of the car Andy Liston was driving is in this big hole. He lives on Folsom Street in South City. He parked there because somebody was parked in his normal spot. Liston says as soon as he pulled up, the ground opened up.
I pulled in and this thing, my whole car fell in. And I hit my head on the steering wheel, but I was so scared that I just jumped out the driver's side, like on a movie, just jumped out the passenger side,
It's a question that just appears just won't be solved. Picture after picture coming in to Channel 9, of course, of that crazy cloud formation. So many of you sending in these pictures across the tri-state, really. And tonight, weather experts are still stumped about what could have caused this. One thing we do know, it carried on for miles and miles in the sky.
What the heck was this? It was seen over across the tri-state today, and a lot of folks got nervous because the obvious look is, oh my goodness, it's a funnel cloud. As you take a closer look at it, it's kind of broken up a little bit. There's some jaggedness. It's not quite held together, but boy, it caused a lot of folks to wonder. We were talking about it this morning. Jennifer Ketchmark ended up talking to the Weather Service. They didn't know what it was.
Many of you called our newsroom or sent us messages on our Facebook page saying that you heard it. People in Boyle and Mercer counties reported a loud boom that shook their homes last night. Emergency crews investigated but couldn't find any sign of an explosion.
He said was he sent me an article about the explosion.
Felicia Kelly and her daughter Michaela say they like the quiet, peaceful farmland area around Parksville in western Boyle County.
This is as loud as it gets out here.
So you can imagine the surprise when that tranquility was suddenly broken Thursday night.
Sounded like a loud, like an explosion or something. I mean, it wasn't It was kind of different because it was just kind of a dull boom.
Yeah, it was more of a sound. It was a boom, you know, it was a loud explosion type.
The Danville 911 center received at least 15 phone calls. It was apparently heard in neighboring Mercer, Lincoln, and Garrett counties as well.
There's been a lot of theories floating around as to what exactly it was. The prevailing one, police are telling me, possibly a meteor shower and the resulting sonic boom from that.
And some people told us they actually heard 2 loud booms, but no one reported actually seeing anything in the sky.
At 5, that section of Vasquez Canyon Road that buckled several days ago is still closed to traffic. But as Eyewitness News reporter Annabelle Munoz reports, the unstable road is now attracting the curious.
Vasquez Canyon Road in Santa Clarita has become quite the eyesore over the past few days. Professor Jeremy Boyce said, quote, "There was no big rainstorm that triggered this. There was no big earthquake that triggered this. The long arcing up and down street grew 15 feet in 3 days, which has completely stumped local geologists."
I just don't understand it. You know, like I say, I've lived here all these years and I've never seen anything really like this.
The Oklahoma Corporation Commission wants companies to close 2 wells and cut back at 23 others after a series of earthquakes today. It happened near Cherokee, which is about 2.5 hours west of Tulsa. The U.S. Geological Survey says people in 13 states say they felt that earthquake. 4 more earthquakes happened in that same area today and 2 others near Crescent, Oklahoma.
The U.S. Geological Survey says a 5.9 magnitude earthquake has struck northern Afghanistan.
Well, if you thought you felt the earth move beneath you in the early morning hours, you're not alone. A small earthquake, registering at 3.6, shook the area near Cornwall today just after midnight. The quake was reported 15 kilometers from Cornwall. There are reports that residents heard a loud crack before the rumbling began, lasting around 20 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. The New Madrid fault caused quite a stir this morning and throughout the afternoon. You may have felt it. There were 12 earthquakes reported today, all centered near Lilburn, Missouri. One man working in the area says all the rumbling woke him up.
I was laying in bed and it hit, and I thought it done broke the bed down. I thought the bed done broke completely down with hard as it hit. And it wasn't too long later, and we had another hard thud.
But so many quakes so close together is a bit unusual.
Summer, and there can't actually be snow somewhere in the United States. Can there? Yes, there can. Mauna Kea Observatory, that's over in Hawaii, of course, and as if it's not crazy enough that we have snow somewhere in the United States, how about the fact that
extraordinary, Becky, because the weather woes never seem to end in this country for weeks, even months. People in this country have been really just praying for one thing, and that is for the monsoons to arrive, because after 2 years of drought, their farmland has been desecrated. There's been this heat wave that's been sweeping across the country, killing hundreds of people. And then now it's the monsoons that are killing people. As you mentioned, 90 people killed just in a matter of 24 hours, mainly in this one state of Bihar. Most of the people who died were farmers, because this is a time as the monsoons arrive when farmers are out planting.
Don't think you'll be disappointed with this. Not a spot on lens, not a spider. There's no legs with this. And they're on 4 cameras at the same time. And now we can see that it stayed in there for 1 hour. And then it bounces back. Again, it is in a orbit around Nibiru that looks appear to be coming and going. So it's going above and below the horizon as this thing is coming at us and away from us as it approaches us and then retreats as it goes around Nemesis. Next, I'm going to show you, please pay attention to the time here. This is the second at the same time. No, this is over Italy, and now we've got Switzerland at the same time. We've got the same object. And let me do the time lapse on this one. Yes. Look how big it's getting. You can start to make out the plasma tail. And the camera setting here looks like 400 ISO. Not quite visible with the naked eye. Look at that. That thing's just getting bigger. And you can almost make out the redness of this thing. Oh my gosh. I've never seen this thing so big. It's getting close. Wow. Continue running the time lapse here, and then it disappears, and it reappears again. Again, it's the shadow. It's still facing the northwest. The actual planet is in the north southeast.
What you see here, everybody, is a thing called SunCalc. And what it does, what this program does, is it shows you where the sunrise and the sunset should be relative to your position. So in the example here, this is where I am right now, where this red dot is. This is where I'm located. And basically it's saying that the sunset should happen at this, or the sunrise should happen on the yellow line, and the sunset should happen on this red line. Okay? Now, here is the important thing that I want to bring up right away this morning. The North Star, first of all, was off by 3 to 5 degrees, as confirmed by about 30 subscribers over the weekend. So anybody that knows where the North Star should be based on fixed points on the ground, like me, my story was I go out and I've been checking the North Star's position for 3 years. It has not changed for 3 years, okay? It stays in the same place winter, spring, summer, and fall. It's always in the same place, okay? The way you can find the North Star is you take the 2 ends of the Big Dipper and draw a line. So our position, fixed position relative to the North Star right now is off by 3 to 5 degrees to the west, Wayne. Or to the east.
To the east.
Yes, in my observation, and I have a solid one, and then I've gotten confirmation from several different people. So what does this mean? Why is Steve so freaked out about the North Star? The reason Steve is freaked out about the North Star is it's the one fixed point that we all can, everybody in the Earth, can validate the North Star being in a position if they have 2 fixed points on the Earth. Okay? I have now enough information to tell you from astrophysicists, astronomers, and people that have given us feedback at WSO, they all tell me that we're correct, Wayne. That the North Star has moved 3 to 5 degrees to the east.
The implications of this, Steve, is, well, it's very disturbing.
Yes. The second point I wanted to bring up, and that's what the SunCalc thing is for, is to say that you see that red line, Wayne, that points off at about rough, this is a rough 45 or just off 45-degree angle here. See, first of all, that's not unusual for this time of year, you guys, okay? What is unusual, though, and if you can you see my little hand?
Yes.
When I looked at the sunset for the last 2 nights, the sunset has been here, where my hand is. About 22 degrees, Wayne.
Which, by the way, Steve, as you know, when you called me on Saturday, and I immediately went in and checked my compasses, I registered and recorded the same anomaly. And here in the Denver area, we were off by about 22 to 27 degrees to the northwest. And it didn't change. In fact, Steve, I posted on my YouTube channel a recording of where I actually filmed the needle of the compass actually oscillating back and forth. And that was Saturday.
Yeah, and by the way, and I won't bore everybody with the data, you know, because it is pretty boring data, but that has been confirmed by several as well that did, after we talked on Saturday, I reached out to a couple of the other subscribers and they all confirmed they were also having the same magnetic anomaly.
I actually know a pilot friend who told us yesterday that he's a private pilot, that he can no longer rely on his compass. I said, well, how do you get from point A to point B? He says that they use a gyro software that is more directly linked to GPS as opposed to trying to follow magnetic north.
Yeah, let me, having been an ex-avionics guy, I can give you a little insight into that. There's a thing called a gyroscopic internal navigation system that, yeah. So those systems don't even require GPS, by the way, Wayne.
Well, thank you. See, I'm a novice. I ride in them. I don't drive them.
Right. No, that's okay. It's a very strange thing that I'm an expert in it because the Air Force made me one.
Good.
So we used to navigate with our primary navigation before GPS came online was a thing called TACAN. The civilian world has a similar thing, and basically those are fixed points on the Earth that transmit signals that basically are waypoints, okay, across the country. So you can navigate as a commercial military, or as a military pilot, you can navigate by TACAN, you can navigate by compass, you can navigate with GPS, and then and then the last thing is called internal navigation system, which is a gyroscopic device that uses the Earth itself as its waypoint. But doesn't rely on celestial observations or anything like that. It just knows where you are relative to fixed.
Hi. So this is solar system scope, and we can see this is the actual time and planet where we're at right now with our universe. I'd like to show you a couple things where we're at and where these objects actually are. As I said before, so if you click on this little Earth, click on here, and then we can see the different views. And most of these were over Italy and Germany. And we can see when we click on the scope here, I said that we were looking at the shadows to the northwest. That would have been right about here. And at this time, so everything I'm doing is all happened within 30 minutes. It is 6:40 Pacific time. So I'll leave a link in the description because it's happening now. And so the southeast is where this whole thing's going as it settles down, I think. Just about in here somewhere. It's probably, again, this is our horizon. This is our Earth's ecliptic plane. Through the plasma field, which is going to stop the Earth, pole shift. The rich people are going to hide in their cities, which a lot of Christians believe that this is going to be a six-seal judgment, and I'm one of them. And how can I stay calm? Because the world is not falling apart. Everything is falling into place, just the way God told you it was. So I wanted to show you one other planetary alignment that I think is important. And, you know, I'm just looking at the elections, predictive programming, Neptune, the signs. I look at Bible prophecies where I get these alignments. And one alignment that I find very interesting is the Sun, Moon, Earth, Neptune in the Aquarius on August 31st. I've heard this date before, this alignment with Neptune, because it's a water planet. Like in the days of Noah, I think they had an ancient flood. When the water planet is in alignment with Aquarius, this is like a time clock.
People were confirmed dead and 13 others remain missing after heavy rain caused flash floods and landslides in East China's Jiangxi province, South China's Hunan, Guizhou, Guangdong provinces, and Guangxi Autonomous Region. According to the local government, as of 6 p.m. on Wednesday, floods had left 3 people dead in Jiangxi. So far, 21,000 people in the province have been relocated, and another 10,000 people are in dire need of assistance. In Hunan, continuous rain resulted in swollen rivers, landslides, and mud rock flows. The Provincial Flood Control and Drought Relief Headquarters said on Wednesday that 3 people died in Hengshan County. Meanwhile, 4 others were reported missing. About 530 houses collapsed and nearly 12,000 people were evacuated. In Guangxi, 1 person was killed when a house collapsed in torrential rain. 2 were swept away by floods, while another was buried by a landslide. The rain and ensuing disasters also destroyed over 700 houses, ruined more than 20,000 hectares of crops, and 4...
We begin in Ethiopia, where the death toll from a landslide at a rubbish dump in the capital has risen to more than 60, and there are fears it may still go up. Rescue officials are still searching for dozens of bodies trapped under the kosher landfill. CGTN's Girum Chala has this update from Addis Ababa.
Dozens of makeshift homes are buried under the mountain of garbage behind me. People have been dumping their rubbish here for decades. It's believed around 150 people were here when the landslide took place on Saturday night. Dozens of people are buried under tons of waste, as you can see behind me there. People had been making a living by picking through the rubbish dump for useful items. Some had even made permanent homes for themselves around here. It's believed children are among the dead. Search and rescue operations continue here, but rescue workers face a tough task. Bulldozers have to carefully remove the rubbish over there. The heavy machinery could cause further slides as well. For now, they operate in the hope of finding survivors.
Tornado is touching down in southwest Florida. This happened overnight, and this was the scene in Punta Gorda where an EF1 tornado touched down on Aspen Road East. The storm going through one family's yard, destroying their barn, sending chunks of metal flying, even cutting their horses loose.
A lot of memories of this barn. Had it ever since I was 13. Now it's gone.
Went out with him. The
family says they're working to clean up the mess and rebuild.
China's National Observatory has raised its orange alert for frozen roads in the country's western Tibet autonomous region. A snowstorm and frigid temperatures have led to road and highway closures. A blizzard swept the Shikaze, Ali, and Shannan areas on Friday and Saturday. Snow drifts were 30 to 50 centimeters deep in the urban areas of several counties in Shikaze. Well, the power supply in downtown Jilong was also temporarily cut down. Local authorities are clearing the roads, and they also distributed food and livestock feed in advance to help villagers brace for this snowstorm.
Maurice Christine, good evening. It is low tide here, but high water on the Great South Bay, where streets flooded and folks were forced to stay inside.
Cars caught in salt water, a big problem. The rainy, wintry mix melted, and even several hours after noon's high tide here on Suffolk's South Shore, streets in low-lying areas were impassable.
All eyes are on that massive storm. Take a live look at Wrigley Field in Chicago. The snow starting to come down right now. The roads messy there this morning. They're bracing for up to half a foot of snow today.
Highway havoc in the Midwest, a late winter storm slamming millions from Iowa to Minnesota.
Awful. I didn't expect it to get this bad. It's intense. So crazy.
Plummeting temperatures, freezing freeways, sending cars sliding off the road and into each other. The treacherous conditions causing this 24-car pileup outside of Minneapolis. Wind and waves from Lake Ontario, along with freezing temperatures, engulf this New York house in ice. Surprisingly, this isn't out of the ordinary. Delays in the Twin Cities as airlines scrambled to de-ice planes stuck on the tarmac. Frigid blasts blowing across the region overnight, dumping close to 10 inches of snow from the Dakotas to Iowa. Another 24 inches expected in some areas by Wednesday. But merciless sub-freezing temperatures, disastrous near Detroit. 65,000 people in the area still without power. And officials now say carbon monoxide poisoning from generators have left 2 people dead. In this northern Detroit home, a mother and her 2 young children hospitalized. This morning, across the Northeast, 60 million residents are bracing for the winter wallop as it barrels.
Now to Peru and those tragic mudslides, the death toll rising there following intense rains that have left thousands homeless, but some heroic rescues giving many hope. Here's ABC's Marcy Gonzalez.
In the fast-moving, muddy water and piles of dangerous debris, a woman almost washed away. As she tries to free herself, her hair seemingly gets stuck before she finally pulls herself to safety. One of many lives narrowly spared from Peru's raging flooding and mudslides that officials say have killed more than 70 people so far this year and left more than 70,000 people homeless. Tonight, as intense downpours overwhelm towns and send rivers pouring over their banks, desperate rescues are underway. Near the normally dry capital city of Lima, dozens of people crowd onto rooftops above washed-out streets. Zip lines being used to bring families and pets over fast-rising water. Others are forming human chains to get to dry ground. Tonight, half of the country is declared a state of emergency. Officials say this is the worst flooding in Peru in nearly 2 decades, with much more rain still expected.
آمبولانس ماشینه.
started taking everything up. My trash cans were flying everywhere. My tent was flying everywhere. I was kind of hanging on it, like almost like a monkey in a sense, trying to hold everything down.
There is one video taken by Louisiana resident Danny Garceau on April the 1st. The video has garnered a great deal of attention. I would say that this is one of the most convincing captures of the star system that I have analyzed over the years. The brown dwarf in a very rare appearance as it orbits our sun in retrograde fashion. And there was also a series of images taken on March 16th and 17th, which are equally incredible, showing the presence of a celestial body. These images are posted on our Facebook page and can be viewed close up. And be sure to follow our page for daily updates on the Planet X Nibiru system. Leave a comment or a message, and as a source to share your images and videos.
4th, Tuesday, 9 o'clock Mountain Time, 2017. What we're looking at is the Gulf of Mexico rainbow loop is what they call this. And you can still see a persistent disturbance down here in the Florida Panhandle. It's slowly moved across Louisiana, southern Mississippi, Alabama, and it's been hitting Florida and Georgia the past couple of days. And it was so intense in Georgia yesterday that they've gone ahead and declared ahead of tomorrow's storms, because it's predicted to cause a lot of damage and destruction in southwestern Georgia tomorrow, that they've declared a state of emergency right here yet. And it's because the weather that they got yesterday was so bad, so strong, so intense, that they're not taking any chances. Here's what the local news had to say about it right here. And you can see the maps of what they're predicting for tomorrow. They are in a moderate to high tornado path right through here, and Albany's right in the middle of it. Check it out. Here's what they've got to say.
State of emergency has been declared for Dougherty County ahead of tomorrow's storms.
The National Weather Service shows Dougherty County could possibly see strong, long-track tornadoes with destructive wind gusts as high as 70 miles per hour. Now, these weather events could happen throughout the day tomorrow.
And we want to tell you more on the details on what exactly a disaster declaration means. Number one, the county emergency operations plans will be activated. Number two, the emergency operations ordinances that Dougherty County commissioners adopted will be operative.
It's getting just off the charts. Everywhere you look around the globe, there's some sort of wild weather going on. If it's not giant hail, it's strong winds, straight line winds, dust storms, tornadoes, floods, landslides, mudslides. It just goes on and on and on, and it doesn't stop. It only seems to intensify. So there's already a state of emergency in place in Dougherty County, which is south of Albany, Georgia, right here, for tomorrow. And the storms haven't even hit yet, but they're brewing. And they know it. And based off of what it did yesterday, they're not taking any chances.
Another sign that this is in play. Record snow, blizzards. Newfoundland, eastern Canada, getting over 120 centimeters of snow. And for those of you in the U.S., 2.5 centimeters equals 1 inch. couple images for you here. Snow up to the rooftops of homes. Now in Canada, when it's reported in the news as an unbelievable amount of snow, and this is in Gander, which also had record snows 2 years ago. Seems to be a trend in that area. Here's the actual depth of some of the snow on top of the cars. And all of you hearing about the melting sea ice. Oh, it's going to melt in and we'll use all the Northwest Passage. And it's definitely disappearing, the sea ice, or so you've been told. Atlantic Ferry, stuck in sea ice off Cape Breton. This off the IceAgeNow.info newsfeed. Nova Scotia Ferry, stuck. They're not really sure when they can get it out. They're sending an icebreaker right now to try to escort it out of this slush pack ice. Image here for you of the escort ship trying to break it free right now and cut a channel through there. Cape Breton here on the map for you, Far Eastern Maritimes. Bit north of Halifax, Nova Scotia. Satellite image for you here. If truly all the sea ice was melting, you think further south latitudes would be the first place that it would disappear, not in the Arctic Circle, which they keep claiming. How can there be so much sea ice this far south if all the ice is disappearing in the north? How can there still be ice further south? This is just simple, commonsensical stuff.
Saw that. Oh! They're my safety glasses. Yeah. Man, those came out of nowhere. Sucker that got me. Big Daddy. Well guys, got 3 tornadoes today and some beautiful lightning and destroyed another window with hail, but more important news, we lost 3 storm chasers today. Kelly Williamson, Randy, the storm wranglers, were in an accident with another storm chaser named Corbin from Arizona, I believe. I didn't know him, but Kelly and I were friends, and we used to hang out and underneath the storms and talk about everything except the storms. I remember being in New Mexico with him last year, and we were looking for arrowheads and didn't find any, but we talked about getting barbecue and beer all the times, but we kept missing each other. Just last 2 days ago in Oklahoma, he and I got to hang out for a good 20-30 minutes before getting all the funnel clouds, and he was a hard worker, and he was a good storm chaser. He was just a good old boy, down-to-earth guy, and that's what made the Storm Wranglers TV show so good, and I'll miss him. And my deepest condolences go out to the families of all of them.
In the distance, I heard the words, "Shalom, Benjamin. Benjamin, wake up." My eyes opened the moment I was called. The angel of God spoke, "My name is Raphael, prophet of God. You know me. I am sent to you in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ. Follow me now." I got up from my bed and followed the messenger angel of God down the stairs, through the door and into the street. We stood still in the middle of the intersection of the street, near our house. The angel of God spoke, "The God of Isaac, Jacob, and Abraham allows you a glimpse into the future, at what will come to pass very soon." The messenger angel of God held in his right hand a sort of golden shepherd's crook, and stuck it upright in the ground, and spoke, "Thus there will be many earthquakes like this one." At the moment that the rod penetrated right through the asphalt, the road began to crack and to vibrate. The ground was moving violently. Simultaneously I heard a trumpet sound which persisted, an all-pervading sound that I could even feel vibrating through my mind, and it filled the airspace as meanwhile all kinds of things took place. I saw as in slow motion all kinds of people in the air, and even babies and people with disabilities. And also animals were going up in the air. I saw dogs and cats and even marmots, large and small animals. All that I was seeing amazed me and went far beyond my understanding. The messenger angel of God spoke further. Benjamin, God is saying the same words as in the days of Noah. Genesis 9 verse 12. And God said, "This is the token of the covenant which I make between me and you and every living creature with you for all generations." I asked, "To whom is this further revealed?" The messenger angel of God said, "Only to Benjamin, from the tribe of Benjamin. You are truly the prophet of God of the last days." Immediately during the rapture, I saw a kind of lightning which filled the entire sky. I also heard wailing and crying everywhere. The messenger angel of God spoke, "Benjamin, it will be just like it is written in Exodus 12 verse 30. There it is written, 'And Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all his servants and all the Egyptians, and there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house where there was not one dead.'" Then I said, "This I understand, but that there will be a dead? A heart will have as much grief as with the loss of their loved one." "I get it," I said. I saw all sorts of things falling from the sky, a helicopter that uncontrollably circled downwards. Also a plane fell from the sky. I saw fireballs coming down, which struck everywhere, in the roofs and streets. Fires arose everywhere. It looked like a war. Derailed trams and cars with people, but without drivers, crashed into each other. It was complete chaos. I saw several large and small UFOs in the air. They virtually stood still, and I said, "Look, Raphael! These are the visitors from space. This is what the fallen angels call themselves." I was shocked by rocky stones that fell from the sky. Some were on fire and others were not. They were slightly larger than a football and struck everywhere and caused fire. I also saw all kinds of strange satellites falling from the sky. The messenger angel spoke further and said, "Benjamin, fear not, this must yet come to pass." I also felt a kind of magnetic pressure, as if everything was magnetic, as if I was pushed to all sides by some sort of air pressure. Even cars were moved sideways by this pressure. I understood that all this will happen immediately just after the rapture, when Christians have been gathered by God, the God of Isaac, Jacob and Abraham. I saw a blood-red moon, which looked badly damaged with holes, where bright light came through it. The sun was shining very bright, and the heat was unbearable. Also I heard and saw someone who cursed, but I could not understand it. I think the angel of God had made what he said unintelligible. Then he shouted, irritated and loudly, "Rosh Hashanah!" The angel of God said, "The people will really have hell on earth, for the worst is still to come to those left behind." Benjamin, you have spoken so much on behalf of God, but some people think that you give a study, and they don't even see that everything is prophetically foretold, and even in the scriptures. But God points out everything is directly spoken to you, and everything shall come to pass. "I am who I am," thus speaks the God of Israel. "I'll bring you back now, Benjamin." And the messenger angel of God said, "Repent, you who are listening to this message, and surrender yourself to Jesus Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach. and you will be there where your heart, mind, soul, and body are full of. He who does not want to hear will perish. Ruacha, Yeshu, Shalom, Emmanuel, spoke the messenger angel of God, and disappeared.
Lord, please protect us. This is currently what's happening right now. We are driving in Naisna, and I don't know. They want us to turn around. We can't go further because
At least 8 people are dead in Cape Town, South Africa, and what is being called, quote, the mother of all storms by South African local media. 4 of the victims died in a fire that was caused by lightning, and authorities reported thousands have been evacuated as winds fanned fires and flash flooding hit neighborhoods hard. The rain did bring some relief to the region where drought has been intense. And check this out. High waves churned up sea foam along Cape Town's waterfront.
Psalm 107, 33 and 34. He turns rivers into a wilderness, and the water springs into dry ground, a fruitful land into barrenness, for the wickedness of those who dwell in it.
Tornado whipping through a Canadian town. Take a look at this time-lapse footage capturing the tornado north of Calgary. No one was injured and damage was contained to one rural property. Canada averages just 80 tornadoes per year, so this was pretty rare, while the U.S. reports some 1,300.
Miren el iris. No, se fue para allá, mamá.
As the world continues to spin out of control, we can no longer afford to ignore the truth. Almighty God, the creator of heaven, earth, and all things, is trying to get our attention. He is letting us know, through powerful weather catastrophes and the events happening in the world around us, that He is in control, and He is preparing to intervene in world affairs, climaxing in the return of Jesus Christ.
Widespread disruption on the island, people trapped in mountainous areas. Heavy rain, which began on Friday, continues to inundate Taiwan, with precipitation in some areas reaching 600 millimeters. Thousands of people had to be relocated to temporary shelters. Countless homes have been left without power and water. Hundreds of flights were canceled or delayed, and schools were closed. The losses in the agriculture industry have already reached $660,000 US, leading the price of vegetables to rise 30%. It's predicted to rise even more. One woman and her grandchild were trapped in the heavy rain. In just a few minutes, the water level rose waist high. Despite holding her grandchild tightly, the two of them couldn't stand still and fell into the water stream. Luckily, a rescue team arrived in time. A torrential rain warning has been issued for Luckily, the southwestern airstream is likely to leave on Sunday.
But I do want to know what's coming. I used to search for new Nibiru videos every week till I gave up. It was always the same old videos, copied or renamed. Are videos with misleading titles and photos offering no proof. Since videos on Nibiru are so disappointing, I decided to make my first documentary video. All you need to know about Nibiru in 10 minutes, 18 months ago. Actually, that is what started the channel you're watching now. Since I am not a scientist nor an alien, there is nothing my video can offer that you cannot find with a thorough web search. However, Before my research, if you would have asked me then if I think there is really a planet X, I would have said no. But if you ask me now, my answer will be yes. I believe there is a Nibiru in our solar system. Let me show you why. Originally, I didn't see how a huge planet, 4 times the size of Jupiter, can exist in our solar system without us knowing. But that is before I learned about TNO. Before I did extensive research on ancient prophecies, which, believe it or not, collaborated somehow. Let me put it this way. You may not recognize Nibiru when it comes, and the visit may be different from what you expected, but believe me, there is a Nibiru out there in our solar system. For people who are new to this Planet X Nibiru theory, pick 3,600-year orbit. It is called the Destroyer Planet, as when it comes, it will bring destruction and possibly the Doomsday. Wait! If Doomsday comes every 3,600 years, how come we're still here? Think about it this way. Many comets pass by our sun regularly. How many of them hit planets? The last and only one I remember was the Shoemaker-Levy 9 hitting Jupiter in July 1994. So maybe Nibiru's last flyby was harmless last time. But we may not be likely so lucky next time? Before jumping to any conclusions we cannot sustain, let me bring you another popular Nibiru theory. The planet Nibiru of Nemesis. Nemesis is supposedly our sun's brown dwarf twin. The theory was first introduced in 1984, largely based on the Earth's mass extension 26 million years cycle. An evil twin 1.5 light years away, hidden beyond the Oort cloud, would be a perfect suspect. If Nibiru is a planet of Nemesis, it could explain how its occupants survived 3,600 years without a sun. Nemesis is Nibiru's travel companion and its portable generator. When the theory was introduced in 1984, it made great sense, and at that time, scientists believed that most stars are binary. Obviously, our sun should not be an exception. However, scientists have determined that mass extinction happens more like every 50 million years, and 2 mass astronomical surveys, which ran from 1997 to 2001, failed to detect any brown dwarf in our solar system. While in 2011, NASA's David Morrison, who specializes in near-Earth objects, concluded that even with infrared exist. Of course, that is if you believe in what NASA tells you. However, not finding any proof of Nibiru nor Nemesis does not mean they do not exist. Plus, how do you know if you were told the truth? What do you think the government should do if they think the world will end tomorrow? Obviously, telling you will not be on the top of the list. They will build a bunker and plan shelters for people that may survive the doomsday Earth. And to avoid chaos, it is wise not to share the doomsday news with anyone. Plus, who can know for certain what will happen, right? If you think the government will always do the right thing, let me tell you what Nostradamus thought about that. In Quatrain 227, quote, "The divine word will be struck from the sky, one who cannot proceed any further. The secret closed up with the revelation, such that they will march over and ahead." If you have any doubts about Nostradamus' prophecies, check out some of my Nostradamus videos. When I compared his quatrains with historical events, I was shocked to find the unbelievable details revealed. Check out any of my videos and you will doomsday century. This quatrain seems to indicate that our government would get warnings from the sky, which can be divine, or from aliens. The message warns us, do not proceed. It is a secret that will be kept from most of us. But the warnings were probably ignored, as the last sentence stated, quote, "such that they will march over and ahead." Whatever the secret may be, it will be ignored, and we, mankind, will eventually face the consequences. So, if Nemesis does not exist and Nibiru is only a theory, why should we waste any more time talking about it? Actually, I think Nibiru does exist. It may be different from the mythical planet where Anunnaki reside, but it is there. Let me show you the proof about Nibiru's existence. Consider this. If you think the theory about Nibiru's 3,600-year orbit around the Sun is crazy, did you know Mars orbits the Sun every 687 days, but is already considered outside the Goldilocks zone that could harbor lives? What is the chance of life on Nibiru if Nibiru does exist? Plus, what is the chance of having a planet having a 3,600-year orbit? The good old days when textbooks told you everything you needed to know is long gone. Now the more we know we don't know. For example, when you search on the planet Eris, what you see is that it is called the most massive and second largest dwarf planet known in the solar system. The word known means that we really don't know what we're talking about. Pluto and Eris both are known dwarf planets, and Tino, the so-called trans-Neptunian objects, those are minor planets with highly elliptical orbits. And if you search Wikipedia for trans-Neptunian object, a section called Putative Trans-Neptunian Objects of Planetary Size will jump out at you. It states, the existence of trans-Neptunian rock ice bodies of planetary size, ranging from less than Earth mass up to a brown dwarf, has been often postulated. For different theoretical reasons to explain several observed or speculated features of the Kuiper Belt or the Oort cloud. It was recently proposed to use ranging data from the New Horizons spacecraft to constrain the position of such a hypothesized body. Putative means generally considered or reputed to be. Doesn't this sound like an endorsement from Wikipedia? I guess Nibiru is not all BS after all. Another reason I believe planet Nibiru is real is based on what scientists found in 2003. Sedna is a red dwarf. No, is its crazy orbit. Its aphelion, which is the closest distance from the Sun, is 76 AU, but its perihelion is 936 AU, and it takes 11,400 years to complete an orbit. During its 11,400-year journey around the Sun, we can only get a glance when it is near us. So, can you imagine how many more planets we have not seen? Can you imagine how big the others may be? Sedna's discovery proves Nibiru is not a myth. And then we found in 2014 FE72. It is another trans-Neptunian object, but this one has an orbit period of 90,000 years, with a perihelion of 36.3 AU and an aphelion of 4,000 AU. This really pushes our solar system's boundaries far beyond our imagination. Then the big question is, why would life choose to grow on a planet so far away from the Sun? Well, I guess we don't get to pick our birthplace, right? We have to adapt to our environment, correct? Plus, life may have started on a beautiful, friendly planet till the planet changed. For that, I will share with you another story we are all quite familiar with, the Shoemaker-Levy 9. Did you know before Shoemaker-Levy 9's impact with Jupiter, it was not orbiting the Sun? That is a fact few people know. The comet Shoemaker-Levy 9 was orbiting Jupiter before it got dangerously close and crashed. 2 years before impact, Shoemaker-Levy 9 was orbiting the Sun. A wrong place at the wrong time changed the comet's path and destiny. So, an advanced civilization may have been flourishing on Nibiru before the planet changed its course. Or maybe Nibiru was pulled away by another star. Maybe it is our sun's binary twin. Its advanced technology made it possible to cope with whatever harsh environment, and its residents refused to leave home. Scientists feel the chance of our sun having a twin star is slim. But what gravity forces keep these minor planets circling our sun and something else on these elliptical orbits? There must be another massive body on the other end. Remember, we can only see them when they are close to us. Can you imagine how many more are out there that we have not seen? If the Earth has survived till today, why should we worry? Even if there are 1 million Nibirus out there, they probably won't come closer than Pluto, right? That may be right, but since we know so little, we have to rely on people who know more, and that is the problem. We have found so many new planets and new stars. Who will know what the next discovery may be? This is Ken Peters. Thank you for watching.